Andrew Thomas is the perfect example of why it's so important to be patient with young offensive linemen. He was the 4th overall pick in 2020, and his rookie season was a disappointment. He allowed 57 pressures and 10 sacks for a 9.3% pressure rate, but he took a major step forward in his second year, and now he's playing like the best offensive tackle in the NFL. Through 9 weeks, Andrew Thomas is PFF's highest graded offensive tackle. He's only allowed 9 pressures on 308 pass blocking snaps, and he's one of only 4 offensive tackles that's played at least 300 snaps and hasn't given up a sack. The first aspect of Andrew Thomas's game that jumps out when you watch the film is his length and how effectively he uses it. Andrew Thomas has 36 and 1/8 inch arms, which is 97th percentile for offensive tackles. And the reason that arm length is so important for offensive and defensive linemen is because the vast majority of interactions that happen on the line of scrimmage are won by the player that gets his hands on his opponent first. An offensive tackle with 34-inch arms is considered to have adequate length for the position, but over 36-inch arms, you just have such an advantage when it comes to the hand fight. So on this play, Andrew Thomas is able to land a powerful 2-hand strike that knocks the edge rusher on his back, but he doesn't have to get his body very close to the defender to execute this move. He's able to preserve this space and execute the move without exposing his body to the pass rusher, which would make him vulnerable to a counter. A crucial element of having good hand usage as an offensive tackle is being quick with your punch. A lot of tackles that have longer arms actually have more difficulties when it comes to timing their punch and landing it accurately, but Andrew Thomas delivers his punches with so much force. I've never seen an offensive tackle at the NFL level that puts more people on their back in pass protection than Andrew Thomas, and a lot of that has to do with his hand pop and how quickly and violently he engages with defenders. This is one of the most impressive individual reps that I've seen all year, especially when you consider the player that he's matched up against. Brian Burns uses a club swim move, and at this point in the rush, I would say that 80 to 90% of offensive tackles are giving up a sack here, but Andrew Thomas just glides around the pocket so effortlessly. He really is one of the best athletes at the position, and when you combine that with how refined his technique is, you get a shutdown offensive tackle. His length and foot quickness makes it virtually impossible to beat him around the edge. He has really smooth pass sets, and then he just shuffles around the pocket and mirrors the speed rush. But at the top of the rush, when the edge defender's trying to bend his trajectory back towards the quarterback, that's where his arm length really comes in handy, because that extra couple of inches and the fact that his arms are built like tree trunks gives him a ton of resistance as he's trying to flatten his angle. And then what happens on a speed rush when you're trying to bend around the edge is that you end up getting low to the ground, and that just plays right into Andrew Thomas's hands. And then Andrew Thomas's anchor is probably his best trait as a pass protector. He just needs a few gather steps to completely kill most bull rushes, and if you try to hit him with power, he hits you right back in the opposite direction. There are so many examples on his tape from this season where he absorbs the bull rush and then actually drives the defender back for a pancake. That's just not something you see very often in the NFL, because everyone on the field is such a high-level athlete, and you usually don't see that disparity in one-on-one matchups. But with Andrew Thomas, you'll see these undersized pass rushers. The first half they'll be doing their speed rush play after play, and Andrew Thomas just flushes them out of the pocket. And then by about the third quarter, they decide, okay, I need to switch up my rush strategy, and they end up just running into a brick wall. I would say Andrew Thomas is a better pass blocker than he is a run blocker, but he's still one of the best run blockers in the league. Some of the reach blocks that he's able to pull off are incredible. It starts with a really explosive first step, which you've got to have if you're trying to reach a player from the backside shoulder. And then, as with pretty much everything, Andrew Thomas's arm length makes securing reach blocks a lot easier. When he engages with Derek Brown right here, he's trying to get his inside hand under the inside armpit, and that's just a lot easier to do if you have longer arms. They call it a reach block for a reason. He just attaches his hands, gets his helmet across the midline, and takes him with the flow of the run. But because he has such fluid hips, he can make plays like this, where he secures the reach block and then redirects his block away from the play. Reach blocking a player towards the backside away from the flow of the run is one of the most difficult blocks to pull off in football, because you have to land the reach block and redirect your momentum, and you have to sustain your hand placement and leverage as you're rolling your hips. Run concepts like wide zone and pin pull really highlight these elite run blockers because you're getting them on the move, but I was blown away by the amount of displacement that Andrew Thomas creates on down blocks. When the Giants run duo or power, Andrew Thomas consistently drives his assignment 5 to 7 yards downfield. So Andrew Thomas is at worst a top 5 offensive tackle. I think he's number 1 or number 2. He's definitely been number 1 this season. And he's the player I would point to for anyone who's discouraged about how Evan Neal's rookie season has gone. He hasn't been terrible by any means, but 5 sacks and 16 pressures, 49.8 PFF grade. His performance this year has been objectively below average, but that's pretty much the norm with rookie offensive linemen. I think people like Tristan Wirfs and Rashawn Rashawn Slater have kind of spoiled us and created unrealistic expectations that you draft someone in the top 10 and they're immediately just a shutdown tackle. That's not the reality 90% of the time. Even great prospects like Evan Neal, Ike Ekwonu, Charles Cross, they're all going to struggle in their first couple seasons, and they're going to be developing and improving their game over the next 4 to 5 years. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, let me know in the comments any players or teams that you like videos on.